Georgia State basketball, a big win in the sports arena over Georgia Southern. And now head coach Ron Hunter and the Panthers get set to go to New Orleans for the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. A little later on in the show, we're talking football. We catch up with former Panther Robert Davis at the NFL Combine. You're watching this week's Georgia State Sports Update. Hi again, Panther fans. Welcome into the Georgia State Sports Update. Georgia State basketball, a big win over Georgia Southern in the final regular season game at the Sports Arena. Final score 72-67. And now head coach Ron Hunter, who's with us here in studio this week, getting ready to go down to New Orleans for the 2017 Sun Belt Conference Basketball Tournament. And you and I said, I think on that last road trip, amazing how quickly the season seems to fly by. Seems like we were just down in Cancun, way early in the right there at Thanksgiving, and now all of a sudden we're talking about going to New Orleans in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast this season has gone by. I can't believe that we're heading down to New Orleans for the conference tournament, but we ended on a high note, ready to go.
All right, we talk all the time. Coach always will bring up, is the basketball team playing its best basketball? Are the Panthers peaking at the right time? And I'd have to say, leaning on the yes to no scale, I would lead heavily to the yes part of the scale.
Yeah, I really believe so. One of the things that you heard me talk about the last few weeks is that if Georgia State doesn't beat Georgia State, then no one else will beat us. And we kind of feel that way about it. That's why I feel good about this tournament. Again, we can't go beat ourselves. If we go play, that means if we take care of the basketball, do the little things, then I think that we should win this tournament.
All right, last week we were in studio. We had just come back from Arkansas. Georgia State went 1-1. Then they had a number of days off getting ready for Georgia Southern. It was a lot of hype, a lot of build-up to this Georgia Southern game. And, you know, aside from the fact that it's Georgia State, Georgia Southern, and it's state, not Southern, there was a lot riding on the line in this ball game because Georgia State was still fighting to make sure that we got one of those top four spots to get the first round bye.
Well, what's intensified our rivalry with them is that now we're playing them in big games.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, we were playing for the lead for the Sun Belt title, and then you were playing for the Sun Belt championship. Now this year, you're playing for that that coveted 2 seed. And so again, it was every time we play them, it just seems to always be something on the line outside of the two schools and the rivalries in that regards. And again, our students were terrific, and they showed up and really helped us and kind of got us over the hump a little bit. But it was a great game. Again, I was in a sellout crowd, but I was really impressed at how our kids handled the situation.
Georgia State a winner again by the final score of 72-67. Again, just to show you how important these games are down the stretch. Going 1-1 in the Arkansas trip and then beating Georgia Southern. We talked on the radio about this. All of a sudden, Texas State comes out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere. They were just quietly working their way up. Arkansas State had to finish on the road. They lost both games in Alabama. Texas State moves in and gets one of those top 4 seeds.
Yeah, it's a tough weekend for Arkansas State. They go into the weekend as a 2 seed, and they come out as a 5 seed.
Right.
And so, again, that's how close the games are. And I think you'll see that, in the conference tournament, especially in the first round. I think you'll see a lot of upsets in the first round just because, the parity in our league is just so good that you have to be ready to play. That's why I always talk about don't beat yourself. The teams are good enough. Don't give them extra points by turning the ball over or doing things that you're not accustomed to doing.
Well, I think I said to you on the radio a few times, watching DeMarcus now for the entire season, I watch him and you see elements of a Ryan Harrow and then you see elements of an R.J. Hunter. It's like a combination. I mean, R.J. could get to the basket. He could also obviously shoot the 3. Harrow could do both. Simons is very much in that same mold.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think what he has a lot of, R.J., is his competitive fire. Sometimes I get in a little trouble with it a little bit, but that competitive spirit that he has is unbelievable. And again, that's something you can't coach. That's something you can't teach them. That's something they're born with. And so that's what makes him a really, really good player. And you wish all kids had that. But again, it's something that I call a gift, and he has it. And when he turns it on, man, he's really special.
Jeff Thomas had 16 in that ball game, 1 of 3 again in double digits, 72-67 the final score. Georgia State a winner over Georgia Southern right now. Let's take a look at some of the highlights.
Oh, man, it was great. It was a sold-out crowd. It was a great atmosphere.
nothing was going through my mind besides kill.
They love the State versus Southern game out here, so it was definitely a big game. We wanted to come out and do it for the fans.
Again, a big win for Georgia State in front of a sold-out crowd at the Georgia State Sports Arena. They beat Georgia Southern 72-67, carrying a lot of momentum now into New Orleans for the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. And the top seeds, as you know, number 1, Texas Arlington. Georgia State goes in as the number 2 seed. Georgia Southern, the number 3 seed. And again, Texas State sneaks in, playing very well down the stretch, and they go in as the number 4 seed. Arkansas State drops out, and they're going to have to play at least 4 games.
Yeah, and that's tough. You know, again, to be there an entire week and try to get that championship game is really hard to do, especially in our conference, in our league this year. So, as I said, tough weekend for them. And I think Georgia Southern got a little lucky also because, again, with the loss, they could have actually fell to 6. But again, I think that with Lafayette winning and some of those things, and it kind of pushed them up. So it really wasn't as bad as a weekend for Georgia Southern. But the key is you want that bye.
Yeah, Arkansas State finishes in a mini free fall as they drop out of the 4. Texas State carrying some momentum into the tournament, and as you mentioned, as is Louisiana Lafayette. Yeah. And right now, as you look at the brackets, Louisiana Lafayette, Arkansas, Little Rock, Georgia State will play the winner of that ball game.
Yeah, I think, right now, if you look at our league, Lafayette might be the team right now that's the hottest team coming in, I think, on a 6-game winning streak. So, again, I said this, we could be the number 2 seed playing a team that's won 20 games this year. I mean, what conference in the country where you're the 2 seed, your first game's against a team that's won 20 games? It usually doesn't work that way. But, again, it shows you the strength of our league. Yeah. Our league has been really good, and we've had success against Lafayette in the last few games. So, again, we feel, regardless of who we play, we feel confident in winning the game.
Well, it would, and this is going on the assumption that Louisiana Lafayette wins their 9th straight game and eliminates Arkansas Little Rock. Again, we don't know that that's going to happen. Georgia State swept Louisiana this year, beat them at home, and as you said, played well against them this year, but there's a chippiness between Georgia State and Louisiana Lafayette, and it's not just to the regular season, but it really kind of has ground zero in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament in 2014 and 2015.
That's where it originated. It really did. I mean, both teams were the 2 best teams in the league at that particular time, and they beat us on a last-second shot there, and then we came back and we beat them then, and then we beat them actually the last couple times. The last couple times we played them. So it's been a great series. Again, whether it's Georgia Southern or Lafayette, either one of them, I call them strong rivalries in the Sun Belt. But I think that comes from winning. When people beat Georgia State, they get a little excited about it because, again, we've been, last few years we've been at the top of this league, and again, we got a chance to make people mad again and win this whole thing.
All right, well, the Sun Belt Conference postseason honors were announced earlier in the week, and you got 3. Well, you got 2. You got Jeremy Hollowell, all-second team. He was preseason all-second team. He's postseason all-second team. DeMarcus Simons makes the 3rd team, and DeMarcus Simons also Sun Belt Conference Freshman of the Year.
Yeah, congratulations to those guys. I'm never, as I told you before, I'm not big on individual awards. Basketball is such a team sport, and there are a lot of guys that help those guys get to that. But happy for those guys, and again, the last Freshman of the Year we had was RJ. And so that turned out pretty well. So if DeMarcus could kind of follow in that footsteps and we can keep getting Freshman of the Years, that means you've got a good team and you got good players in your program.
Yeah, and lastly, this will be big. His first Sun Belt Conference tournament. We know sometimes the tension that goes with it. This is his first time, experiencing it.
Yeah, that's why I hope Isaiah Dennis and Jordan and some of those guys and Jeremy, those guys that have been around, that can kind of sell him down a little bit. Because early, you get a little excited about, playing for the stakes of playing in the NCAA tournament. So I'm just excited because he told me about there's something in New Orleans I've never had before. It's a donut and it's sweet. And they call it like a beignet.
Yeah.
I've never had that. So as soon as I get off the plane, I'm going to have one of those beignet things, and I'm going to see if I like it. See what he told me it's pretty good. So I'm going to trust the freshman on that, and I'm going to have a sweet donut.
Yeah, beignets and coffee.
But why don't they call it a beignet? Why not just call it a donut?
Because it's not shaped like a donut, as you and I know.
But it's a donut.
I know.
So I'm going to have a donut that in New Orleans they call it beignet. help me out with that?
I'll help you out.
All right, I appreciate that.
All right, Coach, appreciate it. We'll see you in New Orleans.
All right, let's go have a beignet and get 3 wins.
All right, head coach Ron Hunter and Georgia State headed to New Orleans for the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. New segment on the show this week, and it's called Who Is? And our own Jared Oliver, keeping with the basketball theme, brings us a quick one-on-one interview with assistant coach Sharman White.
Welcome to this edition of Who Is? We are here with assistant basketball coach Sharman White, and we are going to ask him a list of questions, but the thing is he has only 2 minutes to answer them. Coach Sharman, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to set the timer, and it starts now. In 3 words, who is Sharman White?
A champion's champion.
Why did you get into this sport?
I love it.
What is your favorite memorabilia?
My 8 championship rings, 7 state, 1 USA basketball ring.
What's in your pockets right now?
Keys, cell phone.
Let's see. All right, we got keys, cell phone.
And
Anything else?
A Halls
Oh,
tablet.
Halls.
Vitamin packet.
Yeah, it's cold outside. The weather's changing. What is your superpower?
My mental toughness.
What's your favorite song?
Fantasy, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Can we hear a line from it?
Every man has a place.
All right. 3 things on your bucket list.
Super Bowl, NBA Finals, and moving to California.
Okay. Favorite childhood memory.
Christmas.
Who's your favorite mentor?
My father.
Okay. Best advice you were given.
Stay the course.
If you were not doing this, what would you be doing?
Teaching.
Favorite time of the year, why?
October, because it's basketball season.
Favorite place to visit, why?
Minnesota, just a beautiful place.
Who is your favorite sports hero?
Michael Jordan.
What's your next move?
To be a college head coach.
All right, there we go. All right, we got through it. I think the time is still ticking. Good job, man. We certainly learned a lot about Coach Sharman White. Be sure to follow us on social media and make sure you use the hashtag PantherFamily.
Thanks, Jared. We're joined in studio right now as we continue to talk Georgia State basketball. Brandon Leak, who's with me on the radio network. And Brandon's Georgia State getting set to head down to New Orleans. Unlike a year ago where we kind of limped into New Orleans, that's what Coach Hunter just told us a little while ago. Going in right now is a 19-win team, the number 2 seed in the Sun Belt Conference.
That's the way it should be. What we're used to around here with Coach Hunter. It's great. It was interesting that for the first time in a while we didn't know where we were going to be seated. So the win over Georgia Southern, huge in helping out with preparation, with accommodations. You get things out of the way, and you can just get to the nuts and bolts of basketball. So it was good that we finished second. Certainly we wanted to finish first, but I think we have seen a team that has been through the Sun Belt Conference, been through ups and downs, and we have seen a team, if they play their best basketball, that can beat any team in front of them.
Yeah, if they play their best basketball, it's a 21-22 win team right now. A couple of bumps in the road. You go back to the UT Arlington game and the loss at home. Eric Neal's 3 at the buzzer. The loss at Coastal Carolina on the missed 3, but the offensive rebound. This could be a 21-win team right now and could have challenged University of Texas at Arlington for that top spot. But we'll take the second seed going in there and the momentum that we carry in, not just from the Georgia Southern win, but the way they played down the stretch.
Right, and ultimately we have the same advantages that UT Arlington has.
Right.
They have the 1 seed, we have the 2 seed. We get a bye, and so we are pretty well situated for what we need to do. And what we need to do is play great defense, make shots early. That's been one of the things that's been up and down for the Panthers, not scoring early sometimes, and then taking care of the boogeymen of the free throws and the boogeymen of the turnovers. And if we can stop those things, reduce the things that hurt the great defense and the great offense we see, again, I think this team has proven you put this team on the floor with anybody in 40 minutes and they can come out with a victory.
Georgia State somehow won that game on last Saturday over Georgia Southern with 20 turnovers in the ball game. And as you mentioned, not many times that you turn it over 20-plus times, you're going to win the game. we got enough of all the other things that you mentioned to kind of overcome that one stat on the sheet.
Something tells me that's the last time Coach Hunter wants to see a win like that when we have 20 turnovers. And, that's a couple of things that coaches really can't help you with. They can't go out there and make the free throws, and they can't go out there and make you take care of the basketball. And some of the turnovers, traveling and palming the basketball, those are things that the other team really doesn't have an impact on. And so what we need to do is make sure we're mentally focused, know where we want to go with the basketball, make sure that the ball is in the right part of the court and in the right hands on the court. I think just play. Don't be too tight. Don't be too high, but just make sure you don't hurt yourself because we're not taking care of the ball like we need to.
Tournament format a little different this year as well. In the past, if you finished 1 or 2 in the regular season and only the top 8 teams went, you got that double bye. All you had to do was win 2 games, and that's a great situation to find yourself in. Well, this year, all 12 teams in the Sun Belt will go to New Orleans. So now, by finishing in the top 4, which Georgia State did, at the minimum, you're going to have to play 3 and win 3.
Yeah, and whoever's going to be a champion is going to have to do the same thing.
Right.
Lower seeds might have to win 4. We don't worry about that because we want to be the champion. But the bottom line is all of these teams have seen one another. You know strengths, you know weaknesses, you know the better players, you know the players who can be X factors, and same with us. So what we need is our great players in Jeremy and DeMarcus to really come out and have a good start to the tournament. We need our X factor guys and Devin Mitchell and Jeff Thomas to come out and hit some 3-pointers. And we need Willie and the guys off the bench to help rebound, get some points, because all the points matter. You talk about that game where we won with 20 turnovers. We still put up more than 70 points. If we don't turn the ball over, this Panther team can score. So we need to make sure everybody is getting in on the scoring to help the offense and help the coaching staff be a little bit more pointed in what they want to do.
Yeah, and that's, again, from the offensive standpoint, as Brandon has mentioned numerous times on the radio broadcast, how many games out of, let's say in the last 10, have defensively has Georgia State held an opponent to under 40% shooting?
Yeah,
7 times?
I would say at
6?
least 6.
Yeah.
And so when you are doing that great of a job, and how many times have we been in that situation and it might be a 4-point game or a 4-point lead at the half when we probably should be up 14? That's the stuff that puts gray hairs on Coach Hunter, and we don't want him gray-haired yet. He's got another 40 years to coach here before he gets that. So what we need to do is make sure that we just play Panther ball. Take care of the ball, make your free throws, turn other teams over, and find some paint touches and points in the paint to go along with the outside shooting. This is a team that needs to make some threes, but it doesn't have to be primarily what we do.
DeMarcus Simons named Freshman of the Year. We were talking to Coach Hunter about that earlier in the show. Jeremy Hollowell got all Sun Belt Conference second team, but specifically with DeMarcus, as I was talking with Coach, you see elements of Ryan Harrow, you see elements of R.J. Hunter. You've been with me now, 3-4 years, and it's fun to watch DeMarcus kind of develop. The three-point game was not part of his game early in the season. It is now when he wants it to be.
Well, it's scary what this kid can be. I mean, he's a guy who is a person that was in high school a few months ago, and now he is about to go to the Sun Belt Conference tournament. He's a devastating finisher. You're pretty much at his mercy in the open court, and all he needs to concern himself with is making the right decisions. When he drives inside of the paint, make sure that he has a lane and he can finish, and also if he plans on dumping the ball off for teammates to get shots, that it's a good pass, and he doesn't do things that turn the ball over when he has a chance to get us production. So he is going to be, I think, one of the all-timers if he continues to grow at the rate we've already seen in just one season. And certainly you have to rely on the fact that he's a gamer. He wants the ball in his hand, so he just has to learn how to make the right decisions most of the time. And I think he has certainly shown that he can do that.
All right, let's get out and make some free throws. Let's not turn it over. Let's make some shots and play good defense and have a nice bus ride back from New Orleans with that trophy on the front.
Have a bunch of beignets with Coach Hunter. That'd be great.
All right, I want to thank Brandon Leak coming in, joining us here on the Georgia State Sports Update. Turning our attention to football. If you follow Georgia State football, one of the top receivers all time in Georgia State football history is Robert Davis, and Robert has spent the last few days in Indianapolis at the NFL Combine, and our Joey Redmond caught up with him at the NFL Combine out there in Indy.
College athletes from all over the country are here this weekend in Indianapolis, Indiana at the NFL Combine, showcasing their skills and hopes of being drafted to a professional football roster come April. One of our very own Georgia State athletes, wide receiver Robert Davis, is here amongst them showcasing his incredible set of skills. And we had a chance to speak with Robert, who spoke very highly about his Combine experience so far.
It's been great. I've had a chance to, go out there and train with some of the top guys in the combine. I mean, the guy who just ran the fastest 40 in the running back group actually trained at my facility that I trained at. But, I mean, it's just been a great experience, man. I'm just really taking it all in and just taking it step by step, day by day, and, hope to hear my name called on draft day.
How about one of your former teammates, Albert Wilson? Has he come out and called you at all? Have you guys spoken at all about this process?
Yeah, I mean, we speak many a times. I mean, right before I came up here about a week ago, he called me and pretty much told me, how this experience was going to be so that I would already be mentally prepared for it. And, I mean, that really helped me out a lot, just as far as all the tests and all the hours of waiting at the hospitals and stuff like that you have to go through. So, I mean, he's really prepared me for this.
Going back to your home at Georgia State, a lot of changes there recently since you've left, right? New head coach in Sean Elliott, of course, the acquisition of Turner Field. Have you heard anything from inside the program since you've been gone? Have they said anything to you? What are your impressions of the way the program's moving?
I'm positive that Georgia State's moving in a great direction. I mean, I've heard from a lot of players that Sean Elliott he's going to be a great coach at Georgia State, and I mean, all of them have said that they were impressed with him. He's a high intensity guy, and I've only spoke with Coach Elliott one time. And that was when I went back to Georgia State to work out with Penny Hart one day, and he was just kind of walking through. I shook his hand and stuff like that. He seemed like a really nice guy. But I mean, I'm really happy and excited to go back after the combine. Meet some of the guys, meet some of the new players, and see the positive direction that Georgia State's headed in.
From here in Indianapolis, Indiana, we are hoping the best for Robert going forward, and of course, we all hope to hear his name called for the NFL Draft in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm Joey Redman for the Georgia State Sports Update.
Thanks, Joey, for that update from Indianapolis and the NFL Combine. We'll be watching to see what's up next for former Panther wide receiver Robert Davis. Meanwhile, when you're talking about Georgia State football, new coach in Sean Elliott, new stadium in Georgia State Stadium, formerly known as Turner Field, and a brand new season coming up, the 8th season of Georgia State football. R. Kelly Livingston introduces us to one of the new football coaches. That's the inside linebackers coach, Rusty Wright.
So tell me a little bit about your journey here to Georgia State. What brought you here?
Been coaching the last 20 years. I've known Coach Elliott for probably most of that, 18, something like that. I actually met him when we were in high school. He went to school at App State. I went to school at Chattanooga. Just stayed in touch, been around each other, those kind of things, and never had the opportunity to work together or anything like that. And this situation came up, and he called me, and I jumped at the chance.
Where were you coaching before?
I was at the University of Chattanooga before for the last 4 years, been there the last 4 years.
Okay, and what's your strategy with the inside linebackers? What would you like to have happen?
My biggest thing is just trying to make those guys the best young men they can be. And if that's, as football players, as student athletes, as men going out into society, that's my whole job. It doesn't matter anything else. I'm trying to make those young guys productive people. And football's part of it, being a student athlete's part of it, and being a young man's part of it. And what the thing they don't understand is I've been 18, 20. They've never been 35, 40, things like that. So hopefully my experiences through life can help them and grow them as they're here in the time I have with them.
And what's the plan for the summer? I know that time is off, but you have them doing drills, conditioning. What's your strategy?
Yeah, I mean, we have them, they'll be here taking classes in the summer, working out, lifting weights, doing those things. And then there's some individual stuff we'll have them do as well. You make your football team this time of year. In the summer, that's when your football teams are truly made. It's not necessarily spring practice is important, fall camp is important, but it's all that time they have to put in outside of football, playing the game that's going to prepare them for us to have a successful season in 2017.
Okay, and when you're not coaching, what do you like to do in your off time?
I got a daughter that's 18. It's a freshman basketball player at Belmont University up in Nashville. So on the weekends, we're driving and watching basketball games. Doing that, I hope, till sometime in March when they get done playing, hopefully. Play a little golf and then just kind of hang out. So that's about it. There's not a whole lot of time to do a whole lot of anything else, but just hang out with my family and enjoy playing a little golf.
Okay, playing a little golf. And you said you're new to Georgia State,
Yeah.
but what makes our university different in your mind so far?
It's unique. I've been at 6 other institutions, none of them this big. For one, I mean, 31,000 students, 33,000 students, something like that are down here. So that's, that's a unique experience being in downtown. I've never been in that kind of setting, necessarily as close to a downtown area as this, especially with the number of people that are in Atlanta. But a newer program, only 7 years old, and people tend to forget that at times. There's a lot of growing this university and this football program can do, so that's exciting. I think those challenges that are in front of us are going to be something that'll be, looking forward to taking this thing to the next level.
Okay, and what can we look forward to? Even though we are a new program, what can Georgia State fans and those who are not familiar with the university, what can we look forward to?
You're going to see a group that's going to be passionate about what they do. You're going to see 9 or 10 coaches and GAs and trainers and football personnel and staff that are just going to be passionate about young men and passionate about growing and making this place as successful as it can be. That's the biggest thing. You're going to see us digging here every day, and just because most of us didn't come from bigger universities. Most of us came from the FCS level or had been at the FBS level, but it's been time in between and things like that. And we've had to scratch and claw and fight and get kids and find different ways to do things and stuff like that, kind of out of the box. And I think that's what you're going to see with this group moving forward.
Okay, last question.
Sure.
This is a tough one. If you had one word to describe our young men right now, what would it be?
Hungry. You can see the want to and those kind of things. It's just a matter of getting them going in the right direction all the time. It's not a sometimes thing. It's an all the time thing. So I think they want to do well. They're hungry to achieve and be good and those kind of things. And we just keep adding pieces to it. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. Really do.
Thanks, Kelly. And it's a busy week at Georgia State. Here's what's coming up this week on the schedule for Georgia State athletics. On Friday, March the 10th, head coach Ron Hunter and men's basketball in New Orleans. They're going to take on the winner of Arkansas Little Rock, Louisiana Lafayette at 6 p.m., 5:30 airtime if you're with us on the radio network. Also on Friday, March the 10th, Georgia State baseball faces Bowling Green at Lake Point up in Emerson, Georgia. First pitch at 4 p.m. A busy Saturday on March the 11th, women's tennis hosting Southern Miss at the GSU Clarkston tennis courts. That'll start at 10 a.m. Women's tennis will also face Mercer at Clarkston at 3 p.m. Georgia State softball hosting South Alabama out at the Bob Heck Softball Complex at Panthersville. They'll play 2, the first one at 1, the second game at 3 in that doubleheader. And baseball will take on Army up at Lake Point Sporting Complex in Emerson at 2 p.m. On Sunday, March 12, softball going to host South Alabama, 12 noon at the Bob Heck Softball Complex at Panthersville. And baseball will take on Bowling Green again at the Lake Point Sporting Complex up in Emerson, Georgia. First pitch at 1 p.m. So again, a busy time here on the Georgia State campus and across the city for all of Georgia State's athletic teams. I want to thank our guests today, head coach Ron Hunter in studio with us, as well as Brandon Leak, my color commentator on the radio network. For the entire crew, I'm Dave Cohen. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week right here on the Georgia State Sports Update.